Basically, this topic, 3-point measure, in my point of view. And yet another demand was equal women as equal wages as of men. Women's struggle for equal political rights during the revolutionary years inspired women during the late 19th and 20th century in many countries of the world. And also, finally, in 1946, French women won the right to vote. And the position of women in France was much inferior to men in social status. And except for daughters of nobles and wealthy classes, most women had no access to education and job training.
Thus, we can briefly say that women in France during the period were considered and treated as inferior to men. The Constitution of 1791 was a disappointment for the women revolutionaries who had participated actively in the revolution ever since it began. If you remember the discussions from our previous topics, you must be aware of the fact that the Constitution of 1791 categorized women as passive citizens. And as we know, a passive citizen was neither entitled to vote nor be elected as a member of the National Assembly. This meant that women had no role to play in the affairs of the government. However, the newly constituted government did introduce certain reforms and laws that did help in improving the lives of women to a certain extent. Education amongst women greatly improved as schooling was now made compulsory for all girls with the creation of new schools. As for the parents, they could no longer marry off their daughters forcibly, as marriage was now registered under civil law. Marriage also began to be conducted and seen as a contract based on consent and free will. In addition to this, divorce was now made legal by the Assembly on 20th September 1792, and this could be applied for by both men and women. So with the development improvements, women could now train for jobs, become artists, or run small businesses. Thus, there were indeed some considerable improvements under the new government of 1791.